Well, good morning, Uber and Tuberettes alike. It's a Saturday morning, and I just wanted to kind of file a brief protest, in case in the future generations there's some question about, well, prior to the run up to the Iran fiasco, what was the American viewpoint in terms of just regular people about a proposed war with Iran? And how good of an idea is that really? And so, at any rate, I was looking at a few things this morning, and I just kind of want to pass this on to you. That DJT was out there standing on like a runway or somewhere doing a little quick interview the other day, and saying, "Oh, that well, yeah, within a couple of weeks, easily, the Iranians could very well have a live nuke." Except they've been saying stuff like that for decades, but the person interviewing Trump out there on the runway said, "Well, your own intel people, your own intel authorities say that there is no problem, that there is no atomic weapon in Iran. So what changed in the last couple of weeks?" Well, who said? So Trump wanted to know who said this. Who said that there was no danger of an atomic weapon being developed? It was your National Director of Intelligence, Tulsi Gabbard. And it turns out I did Google it back in March. She did affirm that no, it's not an issue. It's really not an issue. But then all of a sudden, uh, she's coming around and decided that, oh, yeah, it is a big problem. Yeah, now that you mention it. And her job was on the line, basically, is what it worked out to be. And well, all my respect for her just went right down the toilet. And so anyway, I've been commenting here and there on a few different sites, and I just kind of wanted to, this is my, uh, you know, record of what I thought during the thing is that during the Iraq episode back then, I remember Colin Powell showing up and grimly introducing the idea that yellow cake uranium may be going on in Iraq, and that was years ago, and we've got to step in before they develop a massive development of what was it called, weapons of mass destruction. That's what they were talking about at that time, and so it turns out Colin Powell was lying his ass off again. And so people like Lindsey Graham, who are out there cheerleaders for war, war, war. Let's always have war. I want to have more war. Why do they want to have more war? Well, for one thing, just call it a coincidence. Um, the uh, war machine, when it gets kicked up, and you have these huge government contractors with multi-billion-dollar weapons deals. Well, guess what? Some of those contractors are just so glad to have the business that they drop off big donations at people like Lindsey Graham's office just to say, "Hey, thanks. We really appreciate your job, and here's a little donation for your, the reelection." And so it's this huge money thing where every time a so-called congressperson, a representative, decides to vote in favor of war, well, guess what? They're also voting in favor of a raise for themselves. The big companies, Raytheon and I don't know who, Boeing and whoever else, are bribing these people right and left to keep producing those weapons and keep, because really what happens is they get broken, they get destroyed. It's a war, right? So at any rate, I just I voted for Trump last November. Now, in 2016, I don't believe I did vote for him. It's been a long time, but I want to say I voted third party that year because I remember posting something like this on Facebook. We're being given a choice between a serial felon or a megalomaniac. These are our choices for leaders. We can do better, or something like that. So, in other words, the serial felon in that case was, of course, Hillary, and the megalomaniac was DJT, and so that was, I think, 2016 is what I was saying at that time. So I went ahead and voted for him this go around because it sounded like the MAGA group, the MAGA coalition, was saying no, we don't want to do any more of these forever foreign wars. That the U.S. is forever projecting power into these areas, and blowing up villages and who knows what else. Uh, we don't want that anymore, and so the MAGA coalition is going to be fractured right here over this whole issue, and so there will be no MAGA in the future. That thing is going to be history because it's a grotesque fraud. Simple. People, they said they didn't want war. Trump claimed that he was against forever wars, and here he is, ready to stick his foot in it again. And so, I mean, I have no sympathy for the guy. I have no understanding of where he's coming from. But other than the idea of the Israeli lobby in the United States government is just way too powerful. In other words, in a way, we don't even need Congress. We don't even need the Senate. All we need is the Israelis. Whatever they want to do, that's what we're going to end up doing anyway. And how in the world they got such a hold on American politicians, I think, to be honest with you, it must be blackmail. There is talk that Epstein had contacts, connections with intel groups like, Mossad and say CIA. And so, in other words, you can lure people out there to that island, and they're corrupt enough to want to go in the first place, like Slick. And Slick went out there, I don't know how many times, but Gates and who knows whoever was out there. But the point is that those names are never going to really come up. That Epstein list is never going to be produced because the same people who are on that Epstein list are still in power, and they're still the bigwigs. And so the situation was that the intel agencies could collect, so I would say, delicate or incriminating information. And so, if a person decided later on a vote on the floor that, well, that this is just wrong, I'm going to vote against it, they might turn around 180 degrees because of a little information from, say, an agent who says, "Oh, you remember we have those films, we have those movies of you doing certain things," and so all of a sudden, boop, the vote reverses. And so, in other words, the Israeli lobby here is just altogether way too damn powerful in the United States. And so, as just one regular guy, one old dude in the American scene, there's 350 million of us. How many of us are against more foreign wars? I would say a pretty good chunk, and that's one of the reasons that DJT won last November, and he's flushing all that down the toilet. He's destroying that as we speak, and MAGA is, as far as I'm concerned, done. He can talk about making anything great again if he wants to. I don't care. But it doesn't matter because it's a lie. So that's where I'm coming from today on a Saturday morning, and time to rush down, I guess, and get some breakfast. I might go for a walk down by the Rio later on. But last week I went down there, and it was like, boy, that was a mistake. Some kind of little midge or some kind of little gnat. I don't know what kind of bugs these were. They just like swarm your face at about an inch and a quarter away. It's just drive you nuts. So if I do head down there, I'm going to get some of this stuff called DEET. I don't even know what that means, but it's probably DDT or something. But at any rate, that's my angle on the thing. And so Tulsi, shame on you. Donald J, forget it. I'm done with you. And people like Graham and like now Ted Cruz, they're all on board. That they are the modern version of Colin Powell. Raising the alarm. Terrible things are going to happen if we don't step into yet another quagmire in the Mideast. Yeah, and if you look back at the track record of these, as they call them, regime change operations, say Syria, Libya would be an example. Lebanon would be an example, I think. If you think about what's happened in Iraq, what's happened in Afghanistan, we spent 20 years and I don't know how many billions of dollars to basically take power away from the Taliban in Afghanistan so we could give it back to them. And in the process, the whole thing has to do with natural resources, oil, and all of that stuff that the United States as an empire is always after in terms of mineral resources, and they don't want to buy them. They just want to steal them. And that's who we are as a people, and it's disgusting. We really should be ashamed of ourselves, and we should get rid of these so-called leaders. And of course, we won't. And this is going to bring a judgment on this land. God judges unrighteous lands and unrighteous nations. He lifts up kings and he sends them packing. He can do what he needs to, our great God, and he will not stand for lies and deception and murder and all of that as being standard policy. Not in his book. And so we as Christians and we as just regular people should reject it as well and demand of our leaders that they walk honestly before God. And if they do that, then a lot of these problems just go away now, don't they? You have a good day. And remember, run to win, because, I mean, what would the other option be? See ya.